thing.
Yeah, because he started.
Yeah, thanks, folks. Yeah, I'm stopping the recording. I'm gonna drop out and then I'll let Shane continue from here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, folks.
Okay. Sorry, Eddie. Go ahead. Yeah. So you were saying that like this reason here in the CSI driver object.
Right, yeah. No, I think I agree in general. I think we just probably want to update this then to say that we could a CSI driver could opt in to prevent pod scheduling, but instead of us using the reason, right, because we're not going to parse that, it could be opaque from the CO side. We're going to be using the status, right, which is an enum.
Yeah.
Because right, like otherwise, how can we prevent pod scheduling using the reason text if it could be opaque? We don't know what
Uh,
it could be.
Yeah, I don't think you can interpret the status to decide that the whole node is not usable for scheduling. I think the purpose of the status is to be able to determine like this volume is completely gone versus like something might go wrong with this volume soon, or the problem maybe it's a temporary problem that's going to resolve itself on its own. Like those are the kinds of things you might want to that a machine might need to know for a specific volume on a specific node.
Sorry, I missed some part of the discussion. Are we still thinking about having like some error codes for this? Multiple error code rather than just
No, I
failure?
think the
Years ago, we tried to like come up with
Yeah, yeah.
a
Can
usable
we
set
try?
of an
Can we try
enum.
that again? Or just right now, since we are
Oh boy,
revamping this,
I already
I
dig up
that
the
would
old
be
docs from
helpful,
like
right?
6 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I think it will be helpful. I think I did I share Herman, there was some notes. There was a few
I have
error codes
yeah.
we tried. Maybe we can come back and see if everybody agreed and we can do it, right? Because we
In
have
the For the reason, like I don't know, like for the
No,
yeah,
no,
reason
not
we
not
the
the reason,
status,
but just
more
like
statuses.
yeah, it's
status,
more
okay?
status, some code. It's just more granularity, right?
Okay.
At least
I
we should
mean,
talk about it and see. Because the last time was because well we couldn't get everybody to agree, but we should discuss again, right? It's been a few years, and we know that if we just have like a true and false, definitely that's not useful. So we want to expand that. So maybe we should definitely revisit this.
Yeah, the challenge is I think anything that goes into the enum should be something that matters to a machine that is automatically reacting to these events.
Hmm.
And there was a desire years ago when we first revisited this to like have a whole bunch of detail that would like go into a log message for a human to read. And that's the thing I objected to was that you can't have different enums that machine reacts to the same way
Yeah,
and
no,
it just generates a different log message because that's not useful.
yeah, yeah, machine is not
so
to read log.
so okay. So like taking a step back. So I actually like originally meant the driver will define like how to say it. Reason is opaque to the CO in the sense like okay, it's not doing anything with it, but the driver like originally like at least when I wrote this and I agreed like maybe we should use status here, but the way I was thinking in my mind is like you have a CSI driver object and it has a spec or it could be defined in the CSI driver health like wherever, but the idea was like the driver declares like CSI driver and it says spec and it says it has a prevent pod scheduling and it was actually meant for like or it's a list basically and it has like that if the volume like uh, has one or more of matching criteria like the if the if the volume has status as fatal and reason as I don't know NFS server inaccessible.
I don't like the idea of encoding like a list of things to match. I would much rather just have a Boolean in the volume health that says prevent scheduling,
Hmm.
and then you
So
just return the Boolean, and that's what it means.
cool. I mean, that could work. That could work. Then we'll have to define all of this, all of those booleans. But in this case,
No,
like
no,
what
no, no.
I'm
I mean, like prevent pod scheduling is the only thing you were going to have here, right? Or is there other
Yeah, there
outcomes?
are other. So I was talking to CNPG people, and like for them, like a recovery looks like if a volume is, for example, like fails to mount on a node, then they would rather delete the volume and recreate it with a new replica, actually. So it's like,
On the theory that it's part of a stateful set and the contents of the volume don't matter.
yeah, because they're running Postgres, so they have replicas which has like all the data, so they could just replicate it. So this so like so the my like coming back, my original idea was like the reason string itself is opaque to the CO as overall, but what this string means to each driver, the driver could define it in the CSI driver object. But it does open the door for having like proprietary information, proprietary error codes, like being encoded in the reason field, like
Well,
being.
the thing that's gross is that the guts of this seem to get exposed into the API, whereas we could just
Mm,
have an RPC fields that say don't schedule, rebuild, all those things could just be individual enums. Like prevent scheduling could be an enum that comes back or a Boolean adjacent to the enum if we need like a bit mask style of response. I don't like the idea of like passing back strings and then having copies of the strings elsewhere in the API that users end up seeing because it's like you're exposing an implementation detail that doesn't need to be exposed. And now it's in the API and you can't get rid of it.
mm, the wait.
But like what if on software upgrade from one version to another, the driver wants to change these mappings? Um, like if they were just Booleans that were part of your volume health, you would just change how you implemented the code that returned those Booleans. Now you have to like go manipulate this object if you want to change how this works as part of a software upgrade.
Yeah, so if a new version changes this reason values, then obviously you'll have to change the like the
Yeah,
this
and
thing.
it's
Yeah.
like those are just details that should never be exposed. They should be
Mm.
internal. The thing that matters is a way that the CSI driver can signal to the CO, don't schedule pods to this node anymore. And like that should just be part of the API, I think.
So then that
Uh,
that that yeah, sorry, and go ahead.
I would compare the reason we have in events and in condition in Kubernetes. The list of possible values is not defined anywhere, and they can be changed at any time, but still they provide very valuable information for machine processing.
The conditions or the events?
The
Both,
conditions.
both
I,
have a
I was
reason
going to say
field.
conditions I buy, events are not meant to be parsed, I don't think.
Again, both have a reason field, and that field I would compare to reason in the health condition in the health. It is useful to have something that's uh,
Yeah, but no one is putting
mm,
API objects that include strings to search for
yeah,
in the reason
sure,
codes
sure, sure,
of it. So like
sure.
that's where it
That's
crosses a line for me. Is it's like then now
yeah,
you're encoding the weird behavior into the API itself when you could just have an RPC
yeah,
tell you the thing you wanted to know.
yeah. That's
So the
something I can agree with.
yeah, like the problem is and was actually like when we discussed this long back, like the last discussion, it was too complicated to discuss and agree on the remediation strategy for different error codes actually. And it gets us into like a mess actually. Like even this, like for example, this is not anything that I have decided as a final thing. This is just an idea actually. What like okay, this is how it might be used.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like so So but having this discussion that okay, why don't we like either like make the reason a enum or make the status like the remediation a reason a remediation a field, like not don't schedule rebuild pod or whatever, and then like expand the status like to have more error codes. So it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of super hard to come to a agreement where it will work for all the drivers. I don't know. And leaving this like kind of open, opaque, like not opaque at this stage at least. Like let's people build it, but at the same time, it does come at the cost of people may build solutions that adhere to like like certain reason text, like the keyword. Like
Yeah. You can't stop people from parsing opaque texts and doing
people
things.
have been, yeah, people have
But
been parsing
but
message bits actually.
right, but we should be discouraging that. Right? We shouldn't be encouraging it.
Hmm.
I guess my feeling is if the only way to build a solution that actually consumes this information in a useful way is to do that, then we failed, right? Because like you may as well just build a proprietary solution then, right? Like take a CSI driver, have it report all this information through proprietary channels, have a proprietary controller that sits on top of it and gathers all the information and does the appropriate things, and it's totally non-portable, but it works great for that one CSI driver. Like you could do that. But the moment you say, well, we want to build that operator in a way that works for all of the CSI drivers, or at least a large subset of them, like then you really have to solve this problem and say, what are the responses that the operator might undertake, and how does this SP signal that it wants one of those, or that one of those should be undertaken? Um, and you kind of just have to get a list of all the remediations and figure out how to decide when to do which one. And if you could do that, like then I would say let's put that in the RPCs rather than relying on string parsing to shake it out.
Okay, I hear you. Okay,
But
let's
I do agree. Like we want this to be portable. We want this to be automated. We want to have operators do smart things. Um, we just never been able to agree on what those smart things are. So
okay,
I,
let me yeah.
I like the ones that you presented here, in particular, like that don't schedule any more pods to this node because something's wrong with it on the storage side. Like that's great information to have. Or this
Yeah.
this volume is this volume is in a bad state and you should just delete it and make a new one. Like that's another good one. Like we should just have a list of all the things that could go wrong and what you would do about it. And if we can agree on those, like then that just becomes your enum, right?
Hey,
And you
can
just
you
return that enum.
Yeah.
Hema, can you expand that I added the there was some error codes that we tried last time. Ben, refresh your memory.
Wait, did you find
It's in there.
the old
Yeah.
list?
Yeah, that old list. You can just you don't go to there. It's already difficult to see. Just see the in your doc. I copied the code because you have
Okay.
to go expand. Yeah. So
Where's the
So
link?
yeah,
I
here
want to
yeah.
click on
there.
can you put it in the
You,
chat?
Okay. Uh,
you can see my screen or you're
I
on a
can
phone
see
or
it, but I
something.
can't click on links. So,
oh no, I did. I mean, the link is because you can't see the whole thing when you go to the link. Go to the real. Um,
Where is the chat window of this Zoom screen?
did you get? Oh, I can do it if you. Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, but please
Let's
just put a link in
Okay,
the chat.
let me put the I will just put the enums in the chat, but I can also put the if you want to look at the issue, but
Ah, there it is.
I don't
Yeah,
know. Maybe
unknown,
you can
healthy, temporary, unhealthy,
yeah.
fatal, eliminate, fatal.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
guys just
So those are the things that we because at one point this was in the CSS back, but then we decided not to use it, right? So, but we should take a look again. Now we are revisiting this.
unknown, healthy, temporary, unhealthy, and then fatal, imminent, fatal. Uh, okay.
yeah. The
Yeah.
idea here was like you would do different things under each of those circumstances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's healthy, you just keep going. If it's temporarily unhealthy, you wait and expect it to become healthy again, unless you like need very rapid SLOs or something and you want to do something, it's this is the recommendation that you wait for it to get healthy again. If it's fatal imminent would mean like it's okay for now, but like there's reason to believe that it's going to fail soon. And so there's certain remediations you would take under those circumstances. Then fatal is the one, the data is already gone. You may as well just delete it and start over. Um, I thought those were the most, because I remember writing this. Or
Mm-hmm.
contributing to whoever wrote this. Um, like these are very widespread, generic kind of conditions of varying severity that you could just return.
Mm.
Um, and and I don't know how much more granular you could get than these. Um, maybe
So
maybe the nuance of like it's healthy on some nodes and not on other nodes is a useful nuance to add. Um,
yeah, the remediation will vary, right? Like for the same condition, like the same error like this here, the remediation could be different depending on what
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
for
but
example, if
that's
it
also important, right? Because for certain types of conditions, it depends on what you're doing with that volume. Like if the volume was one of your many stateful set copies and the data is potentially corrupted, you just delete it and make a new one because you know you can reconstruct it. But like if it was your only copy of the data, you might react differently and say, oh, wait a minute, I'm not just going to delete it. I'm going to try to recover what I can, and then make a new volume or something. You know,
yeah,
you
you
have
know,
you
I
have to
mean,
know both what the user's intent for that volume was and what the SP's feeling about the status of the volume is to really decide on appropriate remediation.
no, I'm saying that the that this error code doesn't address remediation problem, if that makes sense. And like it even
but
like
you can
even
react differently, right? You can based on this, you can react differently, right? So temporary
yeah.
unhealthy, you can wait.
Yeah, the theory
And
is that the SP by itself doesn't know what you should do, right? It just knows what's going on with the volume. What you should do depends on how you were using that volume, and only the user knows that. And so you could imagine an operator where the user tags certain volumes as like auto replace when unhealthy and tags other volumes as like auto failover, when temporary unhealthy, and they could tag their volumes with their intent, and then the CSI driver could say like this is what's actually going on the storage, and then the operator could do the right thing in every case.
Hmm. So the intent is like basically like the remediation intent is encoded like where does the user does that like tag the volume
Labels and tags on volumes, annotations, those kinds of things, or storage class maybe. Storage class could say how to handle health problems with volumes of that storage class. Uh, but you can imagine some volumes, if they're unavailable for even a few seconds, you want to react to that, even if they're likely to become accessible again in the next 5 seconds because it's just a network blip. Whereas other ones, you'd rather just wait those 5 seconds for it to become healthy again. Um, and it depends on what you're doing with that volume, right? If you're doing batch processing, you're better off waiting. If you're doing online transaction processing, you're better off reacting immediately.
but we do
And
not
the SP will never know the SP will never know the difference between those cases, right? It's just providing
yeah.
storage.
I'm just trying to think like where will this be like the store you said storage class but like that doesn't seem scalable like or it doesn't seem even like how do we uh
This
we are
I'm
trying
thinking
to
of the storage class as just a template that stamps labels
mm,
on volumes. Like yeah, the better way to do it is to have fine-grained labels on individual volumes. So if a user wants a certain volume to be treated specially, they can express that intent. But there's rarely a one size fits all answer to unhealthy volumes, right?
right yeah no that's the problem that's the problem that's why I kind of like yeah, don't want to get into business of what to say, like how an operator uses it, like at least like there's a trade-off. Like, does this information like this like expanding this? So are we proposing that we expand the status with these and then remove the reason, or we keep the reason? What do you guys
I,
are?
I have no problem keeping the reason because, like you said, people will always want to add more information, and proprietary applications will inevitably end up parsing that, and we can't stop that. So whatever. We, but we should never design a solution that requires reason to like have a certain format or to be parsed, right? The goal of the RPC should be the reason is just purely ornamental.
Hmm.
I'm fine having it.
Okay. Uh, okay. So Uh, I will just, and we discussed this. This is for I'll just quick, like we have the node health we already talked, and this was the object for defining the cluster overall CSI driver health basically. If we agree to having this RPC called controller storage backend request, which basically defines like driver health condition, status message reason, access mode, volume mode, node affinity, like which if one or more zones are affected by like topology is affected by an outage or something like that. So this was
I,
the
I'm
okay.
very nervous about the back end concept because it's a new concept in CSI.
It's possibly, yeah. Let's I okay.
I mean, we know that we have real backends on real storage drivers, but there's always hidden as an implementation detail, and the CO is unaware of it.
Mm.
So this forces the CO to become aware of it. So we got to figure out what the implications of that are.
Yeah, and we do the problem is we do not have a concept of backend in COs. Like like for
Right,
example,
right.
like this is my project manager, like Gregory says, like for use cases where you have multiple backends, say NetApp has does I don't know, NetApp Tour is one of them is working, the other one is not. How do we report this like in this object or this thing? Like could we like does it happen? Like
Yeah, I
if
mean,
we had to
it could
dis
happen. And what I would do is like report the status of all of the volumes on the back end that's unhealthy as unhealthy, and then
so
and you could do that relatively efficiently in the CSI driver because it knows what volumes are on which backends, and it knows the backends not responding, and so it can just say, "Up, all the volumes are unhealthy," and then at your next polling interval, when you pull that information, you'll know, oh, half your volumes are unhealthy.
and how do we like
But
I'm
but
trying to
but, but like for
get
provisioning new volumes, presumably you would just schedule all your new volumes on the one that remains healthy, and the CO wouldn't have to care, right? It
we
would
just
just
the
keep.
driver will do that internally.
I mean, that's how it has always worked for NetApp.
Okay.
Is that the driver knows about all of its backends and it will skip over ones that it can't use, unless of course you fill up everything that's usable, right? Once you fill up all the usable backends and there's no more space, then you're actually screwed. But
Yeah.
that's always true.
So and how do you then like the one motivation for having this is like to aggregate and show like you have a Kubernetes dashboard and you want to see like if like you have 1,000 volumes that are have health issues. It's not like you at some point you have to aggregate and show and as a alert banner or something on the dashboard, right? Like in the UI. So uh like that was one motivation like of adding a cluster health like sorry or the CSI driver health that displays the overall status because it's it's a display problem, but at the same time like users are like I don't know if it is like users are looking at the health of individual 100 volumes, but like the CEO or someone will have to aggregate that this 100 volumes are affected.
I don't think the CO does. I think that's a UI problem. I don't know what kind of UIs people use to look at this stuff, but the UI has to decide how to aggregate that information and what to display. Because you could have multiple CSI drivers, you could have just one CSI driver, you could have a CSI driver with just one backend or a CSI driver with multiple backends. There's lots of different ways that could show up. I mean, personally, I would just rather see like 5,000 out of 5,000 volumes are unhealthy. It's like, oh, that's your signal that the system is in really bad shape, right? All the volumes are unhealthy.
Okay.
So that's your red alert.
Okay. Like that's cool. I just want to move through this and like that's a good idea. I'll think through that. So this is the entry volume type rather than using PVC status. We could use PVC status, but I'm proposing a new type entry like in Kubernetes. And the reason, the main, I don't, Michelle and Jan is here, but like obviously we have to get a bind for this, like from the API reviewers in
This
Kubernetes.
is inside of what object?
It's a
You know,
new object, a brand new object in Kubernetes.
oh,
Entry.
it's not nested. It would be its own object.
Yeah, we could
Oh,
put it in PVC status, but uh, we
or
thought
PV
not to,
status.
or PV status, but we thought not to for various reasons. Like we have here's did I copy it? Like why not to do that is like it could be like you have reporting health from hundreds of volumes and everybody is caching PVC objects, right? They're having informer. But I don't want to increase the memory uses of all those components unnecessarily. They're not like for example, a resizer, attacher, they're all having caches of like all the PVC in the cluster. They're not interested necessarily in health of those objects at this point, at least.
A
Are there any
So
other
time check.
Kubernetes objects with no spec and only a status? Is that a pattern that other people have followed?
that is, I think, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying a time check. It's already.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
We probably
Okay,
should
so
schedule another meeting. This is still have quite a lot. Like we have not started the API part, yet, Kubernetes API part.
yeah,
We just
and
schedule another meeting.
we can talk. And one last thing that we did came up today actually that like okay, we have a storage backend health check for the controller. And one of the things that came up, should we have is it helpful to have a storage backend check from the node? Like rather than reporting each volume health from the node, we just like for example, if like a driver is deployed, driver is healthy, but it knows the driver knows that all the NFS servers that it needs to connect is gone basically, and so no pod should be scheduled on the node, even the driver is reporting something. Does that is that helpful? Like because I have not covered it in that design, but that's one like this is at the bottom here. I feel like this comes across as more useful. This thing I like as primitive to report. I know.
Your storage backend could also be not really tied to a node, right? So if you're okay, so you're uh, from the node, you mean
From the
it's
queue,
really
yeah,
tied to a node.
Yeah,
Um,
the tricky part here is like you could, like when you detected something was wrong with the storage on a particular node, you could mark the whole node not ready and inhibit all scheduling. But it could
no,
be
no,
you have
no.
multiple CSI drivers. And
The initial idea was the kubelet asks driver to periodically check this information and update CSI node object that okay, this is unhealthy, this CSI node. We are not going to affect scheduling of pods that don't need volumes or anything like that. So it will only
right,
affect.
that's where I was going is you don't want to inhibit the pods that don't need volumes or that use a different CSI driver to get their volumes.
Sure,
So
sure, sure.
I
Yeah.
do like the idea of being able to say just volumes of this type are can't be scheduled to this node for whatever reason. That's
Yeah.
a useful feature. How we communicate it, I'm not sure, but it's a good thing to strive for.
I think this came as like as a clear-cut use case actually. So I'll have to might update this thing. If we decide and we don't find any strong use case of controller get volume health backend, then but we do have a like very concrete use cases for this one actually. So I
I wouldn't
might
call it
add
backend. I would just call it like get health for CSI driver, because the whole
no,
CSI driver
yeah,
would be unhealthy on that node in principle.
yeah, for this node, yes, not backend, just node, yeah. Okay, cool. So let's stop and I will refine this proposal with some of the more ideas and we'll have to probably meet again. Sorry.
Thank
Yeah.
you for driving this, Hamad. This is a lot of progress, and I do think this will go somewhere useful.
All right. Thank you, Ben.
hey,
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah.